Well, up first, let's focus on Assam and the northeast. Several parts of Assam have been battered by heavy showers, flooding and landslides. Road and rail links have been cut off from mainland of the state. And the IMD has issued a red alert today for Assam and Meghalaya. Thunderstorms and lightning at isolated places are expected. The department issued an advisory to the disaster management agencies to be on alert.
And with that, communication lines have also snapped in some parts of Assam, completely isolating those stuck in the flood-hit and low-lying areas. According to reports, the massive landslides and waterlogging have also destroyed the state's infrastructure, bridges, roads and railway tracks.
Well, let's go across to Ratnadeep now for more. And Ratnadeep, you know, this early on already such devastating landslides taking place and now a red alert for Assam. What's the latest you can tell us?
In fact, there is a red alert for today and tomorrow in terms of the red alert warning for excessive heavy rainfall. Remember, already there have been unprecedented heavy rainfall in Assam, Meghalaya and parts of Arunachal Pradesh, which has resulted in this pre-monsoon floods. What we can share with our viewers as the morning update from Assam is that particularly in the worst affected Dima Hasao district still remains cut off from the rest of the state. The rail link has been completely snapped off. The roads have sinked in, so therefore the situation in Dima Hasao is very precarious. In fact, the state government has decided and it is taking Indian Air Force help to airdrop essential supplies to Dima Hasao today, so that there is no shortage of at least essential supplies to the district, even as the national highway authorities and the Northeast Frontier Railway is working on a war footing. That's what officials of both these two government agencies have told us. They're working on a war footing to mend the rail link and the road link, but it will take a few days more. So therefore, Indian Air Force has been pressed into service. Also, in the another most affected district of Hojai, where the water levels are increasing, here from this morning, NDRF and Indian Army has launched rescue operations in areas which are getting freshly inundated. And in Barak Valley region, particularly in Kashmir district, water level of the Barak River is flowing above danger level in Silchar town, and therefore major part of Silchar town, which is the biggest town in southern Assam, has now got waterlogged in some areas. Flash floods are taking place. Therefore, in Barak Valley region, also the situation remains that of concern. However, the Barak Valley region also remains cut off by road because of landslides in Meghalaya. So that road is being, the authorities are working there to relink that major road link. So apart from that, now flood waters have engulfed new areas this morning. In fact, over 4 lakh people are affected in 26 of the 33 districts of Assam, and therefore, in Dima Hasao, all the schools and colleges have been shut down for until immediate orders, and the state government really now stepping up the rescue and relief operations with the help of Indian Army, Indian Air Force, and the NDRF, along with the State Disaster Response Force. In fact, Union Home Minister Amit Shah had spoken to Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma had assured all help from centre.
Right, Ratnadeep. So really concerning visuals there from Assam. Thanks for joining us on that story. We'll keep coming back to you for more.
All right, and let's just listen in to what a Met Department official had to say on the forecast.
And regarding weather warning, for day 1, a thunderstorm with lightning is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. Heavy to very heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. A heavy to very heavy rain with extremely heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Meghalaya, and heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. For day 2, thunderstorm with lightning is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. Heavy rain Heavy to very heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Heavy to very heavy with extremely heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over the Meghalaya, and heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura.
In fact, let's take a look at the monsoon movement now. Remember, the monsoon arrived a week earlier and hitting the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Thunderstorms likely in Andaman over the next 5 days, and heavy rain across the northeast as we've just reported. Also, there'll be rain taking place in Kerala and neighbouring states as well, and South India to witness pleasant showers over the next 2 days.
And there's also an update from Bengaluru. There was heavy rainfall last night in Bengaluru. There was waterlogging in some areas after the heavy rainfall, and metro services in fact were temporarily disrupted last night, and then they were later restored.
All right, let's shift away from the weather now, and the big story that we were tracking yesterday, the controversy over filming inside Varanasi's Gyanvapi mosque and whether it illegally changes the character of the place of worship, played out in two different courts on Monday. In the civil court in Varanasi, and the top official entrusted with filming the mosque was then sacked yesterday.
And in fact, the Supreme Court refused to stay proceedings of the Varanasi court and ordered that the shivling found be protected, but that namaz should not be stopped or disturbed. So really, claims versus counterclaims also there, Gargi, and the Supreme Court order there. So really,
and that hearing will continue now on Thursday. Let's take a look at this report.
An intense legal battle over Varanasi's famous Gyanvapi mosque played out in two courts today. The Varanasi court that ordered the filming of the mosque, and the Supreme Court that heard a challenge to the filming but refused to stay it for now. A bench headed by Justice Chandrachud ordered that the area where the purported shivling was found should be protected by local authorities, but that Muslims should not be restricted in any way from performing their prayers. The top court was hearing a plea by the mosque committee, which said that any filming alters the character of the place of worship and violates a 1991 law that prohibits this.
The masjid side argued that the trial court entertaining this suit goes against the 1991 Act and also against the Supreme Court judgment in Ayodhya case, and sought a stay on the trial court proceedings, which the apex court did not entertain at this stage.
The next hearing in the Supreme Court is on Thursday. India's Solicitor General representing Uttar Pradesh argued that if a shivling had been found, then the Muslim prayer ritual of cleansing at the pond should not be allowed, as feet would be pointed towards it, which would cause a law and order problem. Meanwhile, the Varanasi court sacked the top official in charge of filming the mosque. Court Commissioner Ajay Mishra was ticked off after the report was leaked to the media even before it was submitted to the court. The court gave two other commissioners a 2-day extension to submit the survey report. On Monday, the Hindu petitioners claimed a shivling was found near the pond used for wuzu inside the mosque complex during the court's mandated videography survey. The court had ordered the pond to be sealed. Speaking to NDTV, the new survey in charge promised he will be fair and honor the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, or the syncretic culture of Varanasi.
बाइट दे रहा था और अफवाह फैला रहा था, गलत बातें कह रहा था जो कि सच्चाई से परे थी.
The Varanasi court may hear two fresh petitions on Wednesday, one by the women petitioners who want more filming inside the mosque, and the other by the local administration that says the sealing of the pond inside the mosque is inconveniencing worshippers. With Saurabh, Ajay, Aravind and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And meanwhile, a new petition was filed in the Varanasi court demanding that the area behind the eastern wall of the mosque should be assessed in any manner, even if that means that the wall is brought down.
A second petition was filed by the government side saying that the sealing of the pond in the mosque was leading to inconvenience for worshippers, and this too will be taken up today.
And moving on, the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case will be in the Supreme Court today. The court will pass orders on a plea seeking the release of AG Perarivalan, one of the life convicts in the case, who has been behind bars for 31 years. A favourable verdict will pave way for the release of other 6 convicts in the case.
19-year-old at the time of the assassination, Perarivalan was accused of buying the 2 9-volt batteries for Sivarasan, the man who masterminded the assassination. Well, Sukriti joins us on the phone line for more. Sukriti, get us more details now and today the Supreme Court taking up this matter.
Well, yes, the judgment in this matter delivered today by the Supreme Court at about 10:30 a.m. In the last hearing, the Supreme Court had reserved its judgments after listening to long arguments from the centre's side. The central government has been opposing this plea by AG Perarivalan for early release. The centre's argument is that the governor of Tamil Nadu has already referred the matter to the president, who is yet to take a call on it. And the centre had defended how the governor has the right to refer such matters to the president. However, the Supreme Court had questioned the delay in the matter and had said that if all murder cases are referred to the president in this manner, then it will cause a lot of delay in judicial cases across the country, and the governor should have taken a call, considering the state cabinet of Tamil Nadu had recommended the early release of the convicts. So there were several questions that the Supreme Court had posed to the central government, but the government had continued to oppose this particular petition. Now finally this judgment will be delivered by a bench of Justice Ellen Rao and B.R. Gavai.
All right, so that's coming up at 10:30 today.
And moving on to Jammu and Kashmir now, 1 person was killed and 3 others were injured after suspected terrorists threw a grenade inside a wine shop in Baramulla town of Jammu and Kashmir. The dead man has been identified as Ranjit Singh, a resident of Rajouri.
The 35-year-old was working at the newly opened wine shop in the garrison town, and the condition of one of the 3 injured is said to be critical. They've all been admitted to hospital. So another terror attack, and this time on a wine shop with a grenade being thrown in. 1 person has been killed. The LG has also tweeted, "I strongly condemn the terror attack at Diwan Bagh, Baramulla. My deepest and heartfelt condolences to the family of Ranjit Singh. I pray for the speedy recovery of injured perpetrators of this heinous terror act shall be punished." All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break.
Lots more coming up. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Punjab farmers sat on a protest near the Chandigarh-Mohali border on Tuesday after being stopped from heading to state capital to press the AAP government with various demands, including wheat bonus and the beginning paddy sowing from June 10th.
And in fact, carrying ration, beds, fans, coolers, utensils, cooking gas cylinders and other items, farmers from across Punjab assembled at a Gurudwara in Mohali.
So right now I'm here at Chandigarh and Mohali border. Chandigarh, the Union Territory, Mohali is one of the district of Punjab. And what you can see behind me are these tractors, sloganeering, farmers, road blockade. And what all we saw last year with farmers protesting against the 3 farm laws for more than a year near Delhi and Delhi-Haryana border, near Singhu and Tikri border, this is somewhat a replication of that. You can see here farmers with their tractors and trolleys have come over here. They were trying to reach the Chief Minister's residence in Chandigarh, but the Chandigarh and Punjab police have put barricades across this chalk. Like the farmers are sitting here at the YPS chalk, but they are not allowed to move towards the Chief Minister's residence. Now, why they are protesting? The reasons are many, the demands are many. The first and primary demand is that farmers are held a couple of meetings with the government officials earlier this month, in the previous month, demanding bonus for the wheat growers who had faced losses due to shriveled grain, due to yield loss this year, due to excessive heat. But that bonus amount has not been announced. The farmers also say that the government has made another announcement that the paddy growers will have to go for staggered cultivation. Punjab has been divided into 4 zones. The government says that staggered cultivation has been decided to save water and also to ensure that the PSPCL, the power corporation of the state, doesn't face an immediate burden of power consumption. But farmers say that that is not going to help either in saving water or power. Now today the farmer union were expected to hold a meeting with the chief minister. Some of the union representatives, they went to the chief minister's residence, but they couldn't meet him. They were rather asked to meet a delegation of officers. Now we remember the same happened when farmers were trying to meet the prime minister, when they were trying to meet the home minister last year to get the laws repealed. And the deadlock was there because the government or the prime minister or the home minister didn't meet them initially. This is exactly the reason why farmers are here at the protest, because the chief minister didn't meet them. And now farmers are going to spend a night here in the open near Mohali-Chandigarh border. Temperature in Punjab is absolutely above 40 degrees, though the Met Department says that in coming days we are going to face rain or monsoon. But right now you can see behind me farmers from across the state. Through visuals you can see with their tractors, trolleys over here.
The program is about the 2 main issues. Number 1 is related with the harvesting of the wheat and second is related with the paddy sowing. Because during harvesting we saw that the production has decreased up to 25 to 30%. It has happened all over India. But the Punjabi farmers, we discussed that issue and we told Bhagwant Manji that he should compensate it and have it give a bonus to the farmers at the rate of 500 rupees per quintal. Secondly, so far as the paddy sowing is concerned, we asked him that for paddy, if you are giving some crops as a diversity crops, for example, basmati, moongi, dal, or then makkah. So for that the time is very less. People won't grow so much these crops, so they will go for the paddy.
All right, so Aam Aadmi Party government there in Punjab now facing a farmer protest, and with that, time for us to slip into a short break.
And coming up next, Ukrainian President Zelensky opens the Cannes Film Festival where he links war and cinema. We'll get you all the details on the other side. A class 12th student in Tamil Nadu allegedly murdered his classmate for body shaming on Saturday. The Tamil Nadu police said the victim allegedly bullied his friend.
That's a very extreme reaction to bullying, and a shocking case really. The accused called the victim for a party and then stabbed him multiple times. Sam Daniel reports.
A horrifying crime. This class 11 student allegedly murdered by his own classmate for body shaming him. Police say the victim allegedly called his friend girlish, and despite his objection and pleas to stop, he continued to tease him over his looks. The accused then called the victim for a party and allegedly stabbed him multiple times on a highway.
Body shaming leads to anxiety, to depression, and many a times to body dysmorphic disorder, where one starts to hate his or her own looks. And many a times this is reflected as anger or as extreme sadness or depression.
The police have arrested the minor boy for murder. He is being kept at an observation home while an investigation is underway. Tamil Nadu has been witnessing a spurt in student behavioral issues, including targeting of teachers. While experts blame it on lack of social interaction amid the pandemic, this student murder over body shaming has triggered a new worry. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Find It TV.
All right, very unfortunate, and the extreme, results of bullying as well, and I think that's something kids need to be spoken to about. News now from Maharashtra, where there's an acute water crisis. 958 villages are thirsting for water. Desperate locals also dug up a 7 to 8 feet pit in a rain drain to extract water.
In fact, fire tenders are coming in to supply water, but even the water available is dirty. So really desperate times there in Maharashtra while citizens await for the rain for some relief.
At Solapur Siddheshwar temple, prayers to the Almighty for water when all else seems to fail. Outside on the roads, angry protests demanding answers from the government. Maharashtra is facing an acute water shortage. In the border district of Chandrapur, where as many as 958 villages are thirsting for water, desperate locals dig a 7 to 8 feet pit in a rain drain to extract water. In the Devpur area of Dhule, there is no water for almost 9 to 10 days now. The women have brought out their water pots to show their anger. Some show that the water available is dirty. Ironically, it is sometimes fire tenders that are bringing in the water.
यहाँ पर 10 दिन हो गए पानी नहीं आ रहा पानी की तकलीफ बहुत है हमारे को समझे क्या जिसके हक में आ रहा हो पानी की टाकी मंगा रहा पानी ला रहा पानी जाओ पानी भर ले रहा टाके कोई 6 टाके भर रहा कोई 7 टाके भर रहा तो फिर हम कहाँ जाएंगे
हफ्ते में 2 दिन वाले पानी मिलने चाहिए अगर इसके बाद अगर कभी एक लोक प्रतिनिधि को वहाँ अधिकार नहीं मिला महापालिका के अंदर अगर एक नगर सेवक ने उनका दबाव दिखाया तो महापालिका में जाकर आयुक्तों के मुंह पे चप्पल मारेंगे पानी पुरोठा अधिकारी के मुंह पे चप्पल मारेंगे टॉयलेट होगी.
These visuals of a dry well and tap are from Wardha that is scorching at 43 degrees.
रात्रीच्या 8 वाजता पाणी भराले आणि किती प्याच बरसाती मंदी टोंगर फसा लागते मेंबर अध्यक्ष सचिव हे काहीच काम करून नाही राहिले.
Maharashtra reportedly has less than 41% water left in the reservoirs. About 270 tankers are supplying water to 281 villages and 738 habitations. Residents are awaiting the rains to get some relief. An NDTV Bureau report.
And moving on to other news, the 75th Cannes Film Festival kicked off Tuesday with an eye turned to Russia's war in Ukraine and a live satellite video address from Ukrainian President Zelensky, who called on a new generation of filmmakers to confront dictators as Adolf Hitler.
After tributes and musical numbers there, as you saw, Zelensky streamed live for this formally attired audience and a thunderous standing ovation for him. He then went on to reference films like Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now and Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator as not unlike Ukraine's present circumstances.
Здавалося, що всі вже зрозуміли, що підкорювати людей можна прекрасно, збираючи їх біля екранів, а не потворним, збираючи їх у бомбосховищах. Здавалося, що всі вже думали, що хорор у вигляді повномасштабної війни, яка може охопити увесь континент, більше не матиме продовження. Але знов, як і тоді, є диктатор. Знов, як і тоді, є війна за свободу. Знов, як і тоді, потрібно, щоб кіно не було німим. Звичайно, ми продовжимо битися. І у нас немає альтернативи, ніж виборювати свободу. І я впевнений, що диктатор програє. Але мають прозвучати слова, як у 1940-му, прозвучати з усіх екранів вільного світу. Потрібен новий Чаплін, який доведе і зараз, що кінематограф перестав бути німим. Згадайте, як це звучало.
And more on the Cannes Film Festival, where Deepika Padukone this year is on jury duty. Remember, she's often at the Cannes Film Festival for her fashion, but this year it's about jury duty. Well, we can talk about the fashion, and she wore a Sabyasachi sari on the first day of the 75th Cannes Film Festival.
She made her first red carpet appearance dressed in a black and gold sari designed by Sabyasachi. The actress was questioned about the risk that OTT platforms have for the cinemas, which is, Gargi, a much talked about topic these days. She spoke about how entertainment has changed and that some people now want to watch a film on the theatre and others at home on an OTT platform. That's especially something that's changed after the pandemic. Let's listen in.
I think with the way the world is headed, I think there's an audience for everything today. You know, I think in the same way that you have an audience that likes a drama, there's an audience that appreciates, you know, a massive action film. I think in the same way, I think there's an audience today that you know, that will still sort of want to go into theaters and you know, keep that sort of alive, and there are people who will want to sit in the comfort of their home and watch it on an OTT platform as well. And I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive.
All right, so Deepika Padukone there on jury duty at the Cannes Film Festival. And with that, time for us to slip into a short break.
And coming up, all the IPL action on Turning Point. Hyderabad remain in contention for playoffs after defeating Mumbai by 3 runs. We'll get you all the highlights on the other side. Joining us here on NDTV is Mr. Lakshya Sen. Well, congratulations for the first time in 73 years, right? How does it feel?
It feels very good to win a Thomas Cup for India, and yeah, I think every one of us came together as a team, and we really did it for India.
What's your message, you know, from the team before the game and after it? What was the message that you send out when you were in Bangkok?
Before the game, everyone was really motivated, and we were cheering each other up that okay, no matter, just one more match to go, and then it's done. And it was really important for us to get a very good start in the finals, as it will put a lot of pressure in the other team as well. So I think when we won it, it was very special feeling for all of us.
Yes, just like how Mr. Even Sunil Gavaskar did say it's a 1983 World Cup moment. But, you know, what was the pressure like? Because we understand you are pitted against the, you know, the champions, right? And then what was the pressure like? What was going on in your mind?
I think one day before the match, lot of match analysis, lot of team meetings. Like we had a team meeting with the players ourselves, and then the coaches. We had to put our best team in, and I think those moments were really important for us to stay sharp and stay sharp for the finals. And
the tactics were different. Any different this time around?
Yeah, I think every match we took it one match at a time, and not just the finals, the quarterfinals or the group stage match against Taipei was also really important, and the Denmark which we played in the semis. I think those are really big countries we won the matches against, and I think we were just taking one match at a time. We weren't thinking who will we play in the semi-finals, who will we play in the finals. It was always just one match.
Just going with the flow.
Yeah.
World champion bronze, Thomas Cup. What next?
I think there are a lot of tournaments coming up, like Indonesia Open and Malaysia Open, which are really important for our rankings going into the World Tour tournament. So I'll be playing that, and then following that up with the Commonwealth.
To claim?
I think I'll try to do my best in each and every tournament which I play. So, and then let's see.
And yes, India with this has created history. With camera person Kumar Shrija for NDTV. Joining us on NDTV is Mr. Vimal Kumar, who is the coach. And of course, the first thing, congratulations to you. Has the win sunk in yet?
No, for the enormity of it, I don't think the players have realized it, because it is something very special. And when you can compare this to the Indian cricket team's achievement in 1983, and it is as big as that. And of course, badminton now has become the second most popular sport in the country, but it wasn't still getting its due. But this win, I think it should get its due, and I'm very pleased for the sport and for the young lot of players coming up in the sport. So Lakshya is just 20 years. So then we have other youngsters like this in the team. And so if you look at it from our point of view, Indian point of view, Srikanth and Pranoy, they did extremely, they helped the team. But then you look at Satvik, Chirag and Lakshya, they're all just below 23 years.
Right.
So that is very, very good for the sport, and so they can serve the sport 8 to 10 years.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat, and our top focus is the situation in Assam and the northeast after several parts of Assam were battered by heavy showers, flooding and landslides. Road and rail links are cut off from the mainland of the state. IMD has issued a red alert for the next couple of days for Assam and Meghalaya, while thunderstorms and lightning are forecast at isolated places.
The department has in fact issued an advisory to the disaster management agencies to be on alert. Communication lines have also been snapped in some parts of Assam, completely isolating those stuck in the flood-hit and low-lying areas. According to reports, the massive landslides and waterlogging have also destroyed the state's infrastructure, bridges, roads and railway tracks.
For day 1, a thunderstorm with lightning is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. Heavy to very heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. A heavy to very heavy rain with extremely heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Meghalaya, and heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. For day 2, thunderstorm with lightning is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. Heavy to very heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Heavy to very heavy with extremely heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over the Meghalaya, and heavy rain is very likely to occur at isolated places over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura.
Amar NDTV aro boat ahibo, amar army ahi pale, army logete amar meeting hoise, teologe field survey kori goise etia, apnaloge dekhise apnalogor hammukot field teologe aise keneko ami rescue to ami agbarai loi jam. Jei khetrot moi bhabu ghonta 2 ghontar bhitorot amar army ji rescue team aise, but teologer now bilag ahi paboi on the way. Kazai moi bhabu je ami ekhini kaam kori.
All right, so that's the situation in Assam, in the northeast, and as we said, more rain is forecast over the next few days. In fact, Priyanshi, there's an update as well.
Right, Gargi. In fact, the number of people dead in these floods and landslides have in fact gone up. Earlier it was 8, but now it has gone up to 12. That's the latest update we can share with our viewers. And in fact, close to 9 people are still missing in the two states since the 14th of May. So 9 people missing, while 12 people have lost their lives in these lethal floods that we're seeing on our TV screens. It's really unfortunate.
Look at the situation there in Dima Hasao at the railway station. We showed you these visuals yesterday where you can see the trains are engulfed by mud and water, and some stationary trains have just derailed as you know, the tracks have loosened up with the mud and they've just tilted over. So a red alert really for Assam and for Meghalaya. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Ratnadeep for the very latest. And Ratnadeep, such devastation, you know, taking place already in Assam. So many areas are now cut off. Road and rail links have also been affected.
That's right. In fact, we are coming to you from the highway in Nagaon district, which connects to Hojai, one of the affected districts. This morning, there have been no rains in this part, which is going to help the rescue operation, which has been launched in Hojai by the Indian Army and the NDRF from this morning, helping the State Disaster Response Force. However, don't go by the sunshine at this moment, because this has been like this for the past couple of days. There have been heavy rains and unprecedented rainfall in the northeast. IMD has issued further rain alerts for across the region, but for Assam and Meghalaya specifically, there is a red alert. Therefore, this is not going to be good news. Talking about Dima Hasao, the most affected districts. Remember, in Dima Hasao, since Saturday, so for the past 4 days, the rail link, the road link has been cut off. There is no internet link as well. and the power supply has been restored, but it is abrupt. Even mobile telephones network is patchy there. So therefore, that is one district in the state which is completely cut off. The state government today is taking help of the Indian Air Force to airdrop essential supplies to Dima Hasao. Also in Barak Valley region in southern Assam, particularly in Kachar district, the water level of Barak River is on a rising trend, and therefore the main city of Barak Valley region, Silchar, is inundated. Now larger part of the city is inundated, and the water level in Barak Valley is of the Barak River is increasing. That's what government sources are telling us. In Hojai already the rescue and operations have been started by the army and NDRF. Last evening, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma, assured him of all help. Now the focus for the state government is to first restore the rail and road link to Dima Hasao. The rail link, however, would take some days. That's what Northeast Frontier Railway sources are telling us, although they claim that they are working on it on a war footing. Remember, already more than 4 lakh people in 26 districts of Assam have been affected by these floods. Over 1,000 villages have been affected. But what is very concerning, these floods are nothing new for these people. But the way this time there have been unprecedented rainfall since 14th of May, and the way particularly in Hojai, people have been saying that they have not seen such massive rise in flood waters ever since 2004. Last time that they saw such a rise so quickly was in 2004. So usually, in Assam, floods comes in waves. This is considered as the first wave, but because of the heavy rainfall in Arunachal Pradesh and Meghalaya, and as well as in Assam, therefore the water levels have gone up, and there is a fresh warning. Also, what we are picking up from the government sources is that the first year higher secondary examinations across the state has been postponed because of the floods. In Dima Hasao, all the schools and the colleges have been shut down for until further order. So therefore the situation remains quite grim in worst affected areas, but the state government has now taken help from the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force and the NDRF in terms of the rescue and relief operations in Assam, and the government sources are telling us that fast-track rescue and relief operation is the focus at this moment.
All right, Ratnadeep, thanks so much for joining us, and do take care as you're heading to those affected areas. Good to see that it's sunny in some parts at least, so as you said, the rescue operations can then take place. Thanks so much for joining us there with the latest. And from floods in the northeast and the landslides now to Bengaluru, where there was heavy rain last night, and that too, as always, threw normal life out of gear. The rain started in the evening and then intensified late last night.
Several roads and underpasses have been inundated, leaving commuters stranded in nearly above knee-level water. Several vehicles broke down in the flooded streets, and as water levels increased, the civic body helpline was flooded with calls of water entering homes. Some domestic flights were also diverted, and metro was temporarily suspended. The IMD has sounded orange alert in some areas, and the city is likely to see rainfall for the next 3 days.
Well, let's go across to Shrija now for more. And Shrija, everybody waits for the rain to come, but then, this ensuing sort of crisis that the rain brings with it. What's the situation like now?
Well, the story is no different this time around. Of course, heavy rains have battered the city of Bengaluru. Now, as what the IMD has sounded an orange alert for the city of Bengaluru, and also some of the south interior parts of Karnataka will experience rains at least for the next 2 to 3 days. This is isolated rains that we are going to witness in the south interior parts of Karnataka. But as far as Bengaluru is concerned, the orange alert has been issued to the Bengaluru rural and urban areas. Now, the location that we're reporting from is one such underpass where several arterial roads and underpasses have been completely flooded. It's been inundated due to the water levels increasing. The water has risen and has entered several homes, and also it's, the properties have been damaged. But to talk about the ground scenario of what really we are witnessing here is several of the vehicles are being stranded. Now, this is the story here, for quite some time. It's been for over 8 to 10 years, this particular underpass that has been flooding, and not really much on ground that's been done. We see several of the people who are wading through the water. This water, what you're seeing, the level that we are seeing right now has receded, but still is something inundation that we're witnessing at the moment. If we could go across to, a commuter who frequents and takes this particular underpass very frequently and also lives in close by to this particular area, for how long have you been taking this particular underpass?
Underpass from past 5 years now.
Okay. Every time when there is a spell of rain, do you see flooding over here?
Always flooding like this only. Nobody will take care. What we can do? Very difficult to travel for us. Especially for workers, women, children, they're going to school. No, it's very difficult now.
So that means if there is a pothole, there is a stormwater drain in case, the works that are left unfinished. Now that is something very dangerous that you cannot really spot, especially on such inundated roads. Now as far as the civic body, the BBMP is concerned, at several areas, the work in terms of laying of water pipes, that is drinking water, is being undertaken. And also as DCP West also confirms, 2 labourers have died in the heavy rains late last night. Back to you.
All right, Shrija, thanks so much for joining us with the latest there. So rain devastation, rain causing a lot of inconvenience as well there in Bengaluru, and of course the situation in the northeast. But let's now change tracks on the program and get you the latest on the Gyanvapi mosque controversy and the controversy over filming inside Varanasi's Gyanvapi mosque and whether it illegally changes the character of the place of worship. Played out in 2 different courts yesterday, in the civil court in Varanasi where the case is being heard and where the survey was ordered, and also the Supreme Court. The top official entrusted with filming the mosque was also sacked yesterday.
And in fact, the Supreme Court refused to stay proceedings of the Varanasi court and ordered that the shivling found be protected, but that namaz should not be stopped or disturbed.
An intense legal battle over Varanasi's famous Gyanvapi mosque played out in 2 courts today. The Varanasi court that ordered the filming of the mosque and the Supreme Court that heard a challenge to the filming but refused to stay it for now. A bench headed by Justice Chandrachud ordered that the area where the purported shivling was found should be protected by local authorities, but that Muslims should not be restricted in any way from performing their prayers. The top court was hearing a plea by the mosque committee, which said that any filming alters the character of the place of worship and violates a 1991 law that prohibits this.
The masjid side argued that the trial court entertaining this suit goes against the 1991 Act and also against the Supreme Court judgment in Ayodhya case and sought a stay on the trial court proceedings, which the apex court did not entertain at this stage.
The next hearing in the Supreme Court is on Thursday. India's Solicitor General representing Uttar Pradesh argued that if a shivling had been found, then the Muslim prayer ritual of cleansing at the pond should not be allowed, as feet would be pointed towards it, which would cause a law and order problem. Meanwhile, the Varanasi court sacked the top official in charge of filming the mosque. Court Commissioner Ajay Mishra was ticked off after the report was leaked to the media even before it was submitted to the court. The court gave 2 other commissioners a 2-day extension to submit the survey report. On Monday, the Hindu petitioners claimed a shivling was found near the pond used for wuzu inside the mosque complex during the court's mandated videography survey. The court had ordered the pond to be sealed.
न्यायालय ने भाई जो चीज समझा किया मैं इसलिए मैंने कहा ना कि मैंने न्यायालय का आदेश नहीं देखा सर्वे से हम संतुष्ट हैं सर्वे में कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
Speaking to NDTV, the new survey in charge promised he will be fair and honor the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb or the syncretic culture of Varanasi.
बाइट दे रहा था और अफवाह फैला रहा था, गलत बातें कह रहा था जो कि सच्चाई से परे थी.
The Varanasi court may hear 2 fresh petitions on Wednesday, one by the women petitioners who want more filming inside the mosque and the other by the local administration that says the sealing of the pond inside the mosque is inconveniencing worshippers. With Saurabh, Ajay, Aravind and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And as we mentioned, a top official leading the filming of the Gyanvapi mosque complex for a case was sacked by a court in Varanasi on Tuesday over leaked information.
In fact, that leaked information was quite shocking. Well, here's what he had to say to NDTV.
आपकी विशाल जी से बात कल तक हो रही थी, आज तक हो रही थी. आपको अंदाजा था कि आपके साथ ये होने वाला है? कल ही मुलाकात हुई उनके घर पे, आप लोग साथ बैठे थे, चाय पी रहे थे. आपको अंदाजा था कि ऐसा होने वाला है आपके साथ?
इसी बात का तो दुख है सर। अंदाज होता तो कम से कम उनसे बात करता कि आपको क्या दुख है मुझसे।
अब क्या भावनाएं हैं आपकी इस समय, आपकी मनस्थिति क्या है?
मनस्थिति मेरी सामान्य है, बस मुझे हटाए जाने का अफसोस नहीं है, लेकिन जो विशाल जी ने किया उसका अफसोस है।
आपको लगा विशाल ने आपके साथ धोखा किया है?
यस।
आपकी कोई गलती नहीं थी? आप निष्पक्ष थे?
मैं एकदम निष्पक्ष था, मैंने कोई गलती नहीं थी।
क्योंकि ये भी मुस्लिम पक्ष कह रहा था कि आप जो पहले जो 6-7 कार्रवाई हुई थी कि आपका रवैया पक्षपातपूर्ण है। मुस्लिम पक्ष ने आप पर पहले आरोप लगाया था।
इस पर तो निर्णय न्यायालय दे चुका है।
निर्णय दे चुका है। आप क्या करेंगे आगे? क्या इस ऑर्डर को चैलेंज करेंगे या इसे अपनी नियति मानकर स्वीकार कर लेंगे और अपनी रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में लौट जाएंगे मिश्रा जी?
एकदम, मैं अपने रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में खुश हूँ और उसी में लौट जाऊँगा। नियति मेरी इतनी ही इसमें लिखी हुई थी, मैं जहाँ तक शामिल हो सका मैंने शामिल हुआ और इसके बाद मैं इसमें कोई भी आपत्ति नहीं करूँगा।
All right, so that is what he had to say, the person who has been now sacked over the survey of the mosque. But as we mentioned, a new petition has also been filed in the Varanasi court demanding that the area behind the eastern wall of the mosque should be accessed in any manner, and that's going to be coming up today.
That's right, and a second petition was also in fact filed by the government side saying that the sealing of the pond in the mosque was leading to inconvenience for worshippers. This will also be taken up today. So, critical decisions that will be looked forward to today.
Well, let's go across to Alok, who joins us from Varanasi. And Alok, are we expecting the court to take up these matters today? There's also, I believe, some kind of a strike at the court today.
Well, I was about to say that there is a lawyer's strike.
In particular in this court, and whether the lawyers will work even if this case is concerned. Now, like you point out, if not today, then it will certainly happen in the next some days. I think what is important to reflect on is what has been filed before court and what the court is expected to hear. So, like you were pointing out, one of the aspects that the court will hear relates to further filming inside the mosque. Three of the original women petitioners in the case have gone back to court and said that, look, we want more access to a wall or what's behind a certain wall at the Gyanvapi mosque, and this is the eastern part of the mosque, and even if a door that is in front of that wall has to be broken down, so be it. So that is one prayer that is before the court. The government, which is a respondent in the case, has also gone to court, and their lawyers have said that, look, you seal that entire pond area, it's causing, there are fishes inside it, they may die if we drain out the water, which you've asked us to do. And also, it is inconveniencing worshippers. So that is also something that the court will look at if it functions today. And also, I believe there are a clutch of other petitions that some people who are unrelated to this case at the moment want to file related to worshipping at that purported shivling that has been found inside the mosque. So, if the court does function, then all of these issues will be considered by the court today. Whether a judgment is given, whether the judge decides to pass an order remains to be seen, because the Supreme Court yesterday was hearing the case and it said that it will hear the case again on Thursday. So it may be a little unlikely that the judge here in Varanasi, will go ahead and pass orders, but you never know, the story has been unpredictable right from the very beginning, and now we are in this stage, so, one waits to see what the courts decide. But like I said, and like you flagged, there is also a strike in the Varanasi courts today. So I think we'll have to play it by ear, basically.
Welcome back. A class 12 student in Tamil Nadu allegedly murdered his classmate for body shaming him on Saturday. The Tamil Nadu police said the victim allegedly bullied his friend.
That's right, and he was bullying him for his behavior, that he found him girlish, and the accused, so tormented with this bullying, called the victim to a party and then stabbed him multiple times. Sam Daniel brings us this report.
A horrifying crime. This class 11 student allegedly murdered by his own classmate for body shaming him. Police say the victim allegedly called his friend girlish, and despite his objection and pleas to stop, he continued to tease him over his looks. The accused then called the victim for a party and allegedly stabbed him multiple times on a highway.
Body shaming leads to anxiety, to depression, and many a times to body dysmorphic disorder, where one starts to hate his or her own looks. And many a times this is reflected as anger or as extreme sadness or depression.
The police have arrested the minor boy for murder. He's being kept at an observation home while an investigation is underway. Tamil Nadu has been witnessing a spurt in student behavioral issues, including targeting of teachers. While experts blame it on lack of social interaction amid the pandemic, this student murder over body shaming has triggered a new worry. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Find It TV.
Now, to get more on this story and understand this more, we have a guest joining us on the broadcast, Dr. Kumkum Jagdish, who is a psychologist. Dr. Kumkum, welcome to the show. So this is a really unfortunate incident, but does this raise the need for anti-bullying sensitization and classes in schools now more than ever?
Bullying has always been something that has affected the mental health of children, and schools taking up bullying and anti-bullying is very, very important and should be, part of the curriculum. Mental health of a child is is as important as the physical health of a child, and we need to understand this. The academicians, the adults, the authorities need to understand how important physical health is and how bullying, especially how important mental health is and how bullying especially affects the mind of a child. A child who is bullied and the child who is bullying, both of them are going through mental stress, and it is important to address both. So when somebody is bullying somebody, it is because they are mentally affected and they may be going through some sort of low self-esteem, low self-confidence. They may be in an environment which is not very conducive to a healthy growth. When you are being bullied by somebody, then again there are similar problems, and both the bully and the bullier need mental health, support. And this is something that the schools have to start looking into. Schools need to build, groups of, make this more a peer-oriented thing where there are children in the school supporting each other and looking at, how they can stop bullying in school. And this is something, when it is done by the children, for the children, it will work much better. And it is very important for every school to have counseling facilities, to have a psychologist and a counselor talking about and spreading the awareness of how bullying will affect the mental health of a child. And it is important for every school to have numbers or an address where bullying can be reported. And what happens a lot of times is bullying is not taken very seriously, and it is left upon the child to take care of the bullying. But a child,
this is very unfortunate, and this poor boy was being harassed for being a little different. He was being made fun of for being girlish, is what the report said. And that is also something that needs to be talked about to boys, not to treat anyone who's a little different and harass them over it or torment them over it.
Yes, definitely. Now bullying is now because of social media, we also have online bullying. So bullying has become a very, very big issue in schools. It's not just bullying while in school, but it can happen outside school as well through the various online platforms. And a lot of children now are succumbing to this bullying. Whether it is in a big way or in a small way, but it
all right, Dr. Kumkum, thank you so much for joining us here on the program and talking about this very, very important issue. We're now joined by Dr. Sumit Malhotra, cosmetic plastic surgeon. Thank you so much for joining us, and so many, things that we want to ask you. Firstly, as Priyanshi and I were just discussing, this poor actor Chetna Raj, she didn't seem like somebody who needed a surgery to remove fat. That's what we can just comment just looking at her visual, but also there's so many offers, so many advertisements around cosmetic surgery these days. One really doesn't know how to negotiate through them if you don't know anything much about it.
Yeah, see, basically, cosmetic surgery is not a surgery which we do or anybody would want to get it done because they have a disease. It's a surgery by choice. As far as I don't think it is the advertisements which lure them into cosmetic procedures. It is basically these people. If I am walking down a mall and I see lots of things being displayed, I don't get lured into it. If I need it, if I feel the need of it, I go for that, sir.
Right. So, Dr. Malhotra, there's also a question of where do we pin the responsibility? Was it the doctor's fault, the clinic's fault who went ahead with this surgery if it was fatal for her in the first place, or was it something that went wrong during the surgery, or should it have not started in the first place?
This is very difficult to comment upon without knowing the actual details what went wrong. But going by what I have heard from the media or read it from the papers, whether it should have been done in first place is decided by not just the surgeon, it is decided by the anesthetist as well, based on the fitness of the patient. Based on if the fluid was getting accumulated, it probably appears maybe there was some complication that might have happened, and it could be because of the type of anesthesia which might have been chosen, because or the fluids that we give. There is a thing called even in local anesthetic that is injected, that is lignocane. Now, if there is excess of it, or maybe a patient had a predisposed disease or something, which could have led to increased sensitivity, because of which her heart, in that sometimes, yes, this complication could have developed.
Right, but in either case, shouldn't the clinic have considered these factors beforehand if she had any underlying conditions or if there was negligence during the surgery?
See, as I said earlier, I'm not a legal expert, and without knowing the other party, I cannot comment on that. But they should. Normally a patient, any patient coming to a hospital, we would discuss with the patient in the first place all the possible
right, and in this case the actor's parents also didn't know she was actually going in for this. And doctor, also it's about the age we're living in, so much pressure to be perfect, and social media as well, and that's what probably led this poor actor, she's just 21 years old, to go in for plastic surgery like this, or fat removal surgery.
It is not mandatory in our law for when a patient comes to us, if they are adult, they can consent for themselves, to be very honest. So, yes, parents can, in the rear side, feel sad that they were not asked for the consent, but there are patients who travel from all the way from Australia and America and world over, and they travel alone because of the cost reasons. That is the first reason why they are coming to India. So they travel alone and they are able to consent.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back. Well, let's now focus on the economy, and the rupee weakened to a fresh record low yesterday, ending at 77.56 to the dollar, and with this it hit its third record low in just 8 months. But the markets today opening in the green, but concerns remain on inflation.
That's right, Gargi. There are still concerns on inflation. Wholesale inflation was at a record high. It was announced yesterday. It has soared to above 15%, and with this it's in double digits for the last 13 months. So that's inflation has in fact been soaring even before the war started. Fuel and light drive the inflation figures the most, but raises concerns on how retail inflation and the prices for you and me could go up even further after these wholesale price figures. To help us understand these numbers better, we have guests joining us on the broadcast. Professor Santosh Mehrotra, who's an economist, and Sanchita Mukherjee, who's a senior financial services professional. We welcome our guests on the show. So, Professor Santosh Mehrotra, starting with you first. Yesterday, the inflation figures were released and the rupee has slumped to a record low. So not good conditions there, but what do you expect for the Indian currency? Is it going to go even further down, until when, and maybe till what point?
Well, money is being pulled out by the foreign institutional investors for quite some time. I mean, ever since the US Fed raised its rates, ever since India's RBI preempted some flow out of money by trying to raise repo rate by 0.4%, we've seen that FIIs have been pulling money out. So if the demand for the dollar rises, then obviously the rupee's value falls. And I don't see this going away very soon for a variety of reasons. One, all the uncertainties around the Ukraine war. Two, the Federal Reserve has already said that over time it's going to raise its own rates, in which case there will be greater fleeing to safe havens like the dollar in the US. These are the external factors.
Right.
But in our own country, the one thing that the Ministry of Finance can do, it is not doing, which is to reduce fuel prices.
Right, and that's the point that you've made every time you've come, on the program, that this is something the government has in hand, but they want those profits. Sanchita Mukherjee, even so, if you look at the markets right now, Indian markets up today, global markets are up, but a lot of uncertainty ahead, as the professor mentioned, that, with the war just carrying on, and the price of oil going up.
Yes, that's right. A couple of points that I would like to make over here is that, these are very challenging global times, right? So we are not really isolated or operating in an island by ourselves. I mean, if you were to look at inflation, there is a huge concern of supply chain disruptions. So India specifically, a lot of our inflation is imported in terms of coming from outside the walls of India, right? It's imported inflation, supply side disruptions. The reason the markets are rallying, in fact, is because there's an expectation that China easing its lockdown policies on COVID and easing its policies on tech companies and on its economy as a whole would be beneficial in terms of easing these supply chain disruptions, which continue to remain in focus. Most central banks are thinking that this is something which is short term and can be adjusted over a long period of time. With respect to the foreign currency, I think the regulator has handled it remarkably well, because, there's a lot of stigma attached to rupee depreciation, which need not be the case at all points in time. Because let's understand, the currency has to walk a very thin line of balance between both the import bill and the export competitiveness. So as a country, if you do not allow the rupee to depreciate at all, whereas your competing countries around you have depreciated to a significant extent, then you actually land up making your exports very uncompetitive. Right. So in a fledgling demand recovery scenario domestically, it is important, and we have done very well on the exports front. We are doing well with the PLI, 1+ China kind of policy. So it's important that you let a natural order preside over into a slight bit of depreciation, a slight bit of intervention, and walking a thin balance line, which the regulator and the markets have done very well so far. So I'm not concerned with this bit of level of depreciation of the rupee.
Right. So contesting views there, some are concerned about it, but you say it's good for our exports. They do make us more competitive. One more question to Professor Santosh Mehrotra on inflation. The inflation figures released yesterday, how do you read those numbers? It's above 15%. How do you think it will reflect on our retail inflation, the prices for you and me?
It's going to push the retail inflation up further. There's just no question about it. Because wholesale price index is talking about what's going into it's about the input prices for companies. And that's what's going to impact, non-food, non-fuel inflation. Just no question about it. And fuel inflation, we've already talked about.
Yes.
And food is being driven by fuel. Food inflation is being driven largely by fuel. The supply shocks, honestly, after the lockdowns, they mostly went away.
Right.
Most of our supply problems are domestic. They are at least related to food.
Right.
They're not related to international forces.
Right.
And honestly, on the export side, I just wanted to sort of re-emphasize the point that Ms. Mukherjee was making, that that we definitely need to depreciate our rupee. If our inflation rate is as high as it is well above the inflation rate internationally.
Right. So
there is no choice
on
but
the
to
depreciating.
Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us. I'm sorry, we'll have to just leave it there. We're completely out of time. Thank you both for joining us on the program this morning. And with that, time for us to slip into a short break. Thanks for watching.